Ciao everyone, it's Ian Bagata here, and we're going to talk about grape varieties in this video. It's one of my videos in our grape variety series we run, and I love talking about grapes. As you all know, I write books on them, and always am very happy to spread the word. So the one we're going to talk about today is called Greco. Greco is one of Italy's 5 or 6 most famous white grape variety. It is native to the country. It's one of the oldest grape varieties on record in Italy. Many researchers believe that it was found already in Greek times, and that's where it probably gets its name from. Either because the grape was brought to Italian shores by colonizing Greeks, or because probably because Greek wines were famous and sought after and fetched a high price, back in Rome, people wanted to buy Greco or Greek wines, or wines made in the style of the Greeks with Retsina. So Greco in ancient Rome did not necessarily refer to a grape variety, it could also refer to wines made in the Greek style. But whatever the case, there are many university professors and researchers who believe that Greco may in fact have been what in ancient Rome was used to be called Aminea Gemina Minor, or Minor, pronounced in the Italian way. Carlucci in 1909 was the first to document as much, and this was a different grape than Aminea Gemina Major, that was instead a grape that we know to be called Grecula, but Grecula is now extinct. So Greco has been around for a very long time in one shape or another, and it's a very popular grape still today, and gives one of Italy's easiest to recognize white wines, along with Fiano, Verdicchio, Malvasia Istriana, Ribolla Gialla, Carricante. These are some of Italy's really best known white grapes. Greco is really associated with the region of Campania, where Naples is, where the beautiful islands of Capri and Ischia, and of course the Amalfi Coast. And Greco is a big bunched grape. The bunches are really plethoric. They have 1 or 2 wings dripping over the sides. The berries are intensely yellow and speckled even, and very opulent looking grape variety. It is, however, a very difficult grape variety to grow, and that's why it's losing some popularity among farmers. First of all, Greco ripens late in the season, and given it lives in Campania and some of the more mountainous alpine areas where it rains and snows late in the season, having a grape variety that you might have to pick in October isn't the most ideal of scenarios. Also, Greco is plagued by low productivity and low vigor, and that's another no-no for farmers. It's not easy in the vineyard also because it succumbs to every disease known to man. In this respect, it is much less resistant than Fiano. So powdery mildew, downy mildew, you name it, it gets it. And so that's not a picnic either. In the cellar, it isn't exactly thrilling either, because Greco is a variety rich in polyphenols. So unless you're very careful, you run the risk of having brown musts and volatile acidity. So it's a hard grape to work with, but the good side of all of this is that you make some fantastic, rich, long-lived wines that have a unique, opulent, oily mouthfeel and a bit of a tannic edge. Greco is one of those rare tannic white grapes because it has some tannins in the pulp too. The one thing that is great about Greco from a viticultural point of view is that it is very heat tolerant and very drought resistant. And in this day and age, with climate change, you want grapes like that. So every farmer out there, from California to Australia to South Africa to Italy, is interested in a quality wine grape that is resistant to drought and can take heat. So this is why Greco is slowly but surely being planted in other parts of the world. In fact, there's been some very good Greco wines made in Australia, Beach Road and Chalmers, In the States, Dan Petrosky at Massican has done great work with his Greco variety, and this is an interesting thing he called the wine Gemina, so that makes you smile. The most famous wine in Italy made with the Greco grape is Greco di Tufo, where Tufo is a little town. In fact, the Greco di Tufo name applies to a denomination that has 8 communes. There are Grecos grown, plants grown elsewhere in Campania, so you have other Greco wines like Greco Sannio and Greco Cilento, but the most famous one is Greco di Tufo, so much so that all over the world people tend to call the Greco variety Greco di Tufo, but that's wrong. Greco di Tufo is the name of the wine. The name of the grape is Greco. And the last thing, before I sign off, is that we have to be careful about one last thing. Greco is a white grape, but that does not mean you can or should call it Greco Bianco. That is another big mistake. Greco Bianco is actually a different grape variety. It's an unrelated variety to Greco, but they are 2 totally different varieties. Greco is this famous grape that lives in Campania and makes the famous wine Greco di Tufo plus other ones. Greco Bianco is actually an extremely high quality white grape, typical of Calabria, and it's used to give both dry white wines and sweet white wines. Greco Bianco is one of Italy's many fantastic native grapes that most people don't know about. So remember, when you have a Greco wine from Calabria, you have a Greco wine from Campania, they're going to taste different, but it's not just because of geography and altitude and soils, it's because the 2 grapes used are fundamentally different. So Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc are going to give you 2 different wines. Even though they're both called Cabernet, they are different grape varieties and the wines are different. And it's the same thing with Greco and Greco Bianco. So when you see a Greco wine, chances are it is made with Greco, and certainly the one from Campania, the Greco di Tufo is. And so just keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, presentation on grape varieties. See you then.